about something that we consider to be really important and actually a tool to prevent conflict. And that is to assume that your significant other is coming from a good place on a general, like a general rule of thumb, and to celebrate them, you know, in their complexity. There's, of course, there's stuff that we don't like about other people, including our special people, but regardless, kind of, you know, being happy for their existence and everything they bring to yours.
Yeah, I think it's a big deal. I think that generally, as I'm getting older, I'm realizing how much I underestimated how much my own trauma, my own issues are painting my narrative on like literally a minute-to-minute basis. And I saw something today where someone was talking about how much does your trauma affect your ability to see truth, you know? And so I think it's a really big one, this one about where the other person's coming from, because I have a story in my head, like I have a running story all the time, especially about you. So I have one about me. We're both in the same. We're both being judged by the same hard-ass judge. But it's true though. Like if I'm thinking that you're coming from a good place, that maybe we just have a misunderstanding, or you know, or where if you say something and it triggers me, and internally I realize, oh, she's trying to be helpful, or you're trying to get to somewhere constructive with me, or just to it's not threatening, you know, as opposed to a storyline where, you know what, oh, she's doing this again, or she always wants to do this, or you want this, or you want to hurt me, or you're this or that, blah 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 blah, right? And without going on too much about this, the story that I'm telling myself in my head about you at any given moment is totally affecting how I'm seeing you and how I'm reacting to you. And for me to deny that is crazy, and it's going on all the time. There's this thing all the time. So this idea is it's wonderful. It's like a you know, like it cracks the matrix of the system that's like always has all these answers, and it's like, oh, what do you want? What do you want to happen here? You know, as opposed to like in my story, what I think you're doing, who I think you are. And those are just all bullshitty, overgeneralized, oversimplified things, so that I realized today there was a thing. I was reading this thing where it was about, you know, what is the belief that I'm carrying in my head? What's it enabling me to do? And I realized this morning, I was asking myself this question. I was like, oh, it enables me not to have to try harder, because I already have the answer. You're an asshole, or you're this, or you're this. I don't have to try harder, and I don't have to try to get a better outcome, because I already know that you're this or that. But it's like, it's kind of like this lazy shortcut. And if I believe that you're coming from a good place, then first of all, like, I could drop my guard. I could drop my guard. I could drop my guard, but also it opens the possibility that we can do something constructive through our interaction, as opposed to this like standoffish, tense, not loving interaction. Right?
I also find that kind of being defensive about the other person is an immaturity. I find within myself that when I'm in that place, I'm kind of holding this energy of little child, like a girl who's entitled and afraid. And so I'm afraid that you're gonna hurt me, and I'm entitled to believe, regardless of who I am and what I do, I deserve to be treated this way. And you are to provide this for me.
Wow.
And
wait, can you explain that more?
Right. So if I want to have a peaceful day, instead of something that comes up for me a lot is two things: a lack of levity and a lack of warmth. So when I feel stressed, I tend to get really cold and really serious. So in those moments,
I've noticed.
Have you? In those moments, I want you to crack the joke. I want you to give me a back massage.
I want to save you from that scenario.
Yes, I want you to rescue me. And if you don't, if you're stressed, if you need the same from me, then fuck you, because you're the one who needs to provide it, and I'm the little girl who needs to be rescued. So in that way, that's the immaturity. And when I realized, well, like when I step into my power and I'm like, dude, I'm a grown up and I can have grace, I can crack the joke, I can relax the atmosphere in my own house and my own family many times as if it was magic, then you laugh and you relax and you come and tell me what you're struggling with, and there's connection, you know?
Can I say something?
Yeah, yes.
It's almost like you're taking it on a subjective level, the same thing, to assume that you're coming from a good place and to see where you're coming from also, and to celebrate yourself.
Right.
Because if you're coming with all these preconceived ideas about who I need to be and all this stuff, where are you coming from at the same time, right?
Yes.
So it's like this double, you know, first of all, not judging the other person and assuming that they're who they are in, and also taking ownership for where you're coming from and
Right.
how you can affect the situation.
Right, so in the past maybe I would say, oh no, Mike is he's so stressed and he's being so rushed and I feel unwanted or rejected and whatever. And now it's like, this guy is so generous, he's so hardworking, I love him so much. He just made a really snarky comment. I'm sure he's stressed. I'm gonna ask him if I can help him with something. As opposed to, oh my God, he's just being hostile with me.
I agree with you about the immaturity thing, because it's like when I'm doing that, I'm coming to an answer right away that's easy to deal with, and I don't have to work. I'm like, no, fuck you, you're an asshole, and that's why the situation is like this. And I have no ownership, and also I'm just telling myself this whole big, beautiful bullshit story about who you are that's very detached from who you are. So I get to judge you, I get to react to you, and I get to have all this relationship with an imaginary Sarah.
Right.
Because she's easier to deal with.
Yeah.
You know, than someone who might be an asshole sometimes, and also is usually, or always, usually coming from a really good place and really wants the best for me. Because that's really hard to process. You know, that's like, oh, maybe I'm responsible then, or maybe I'm not receiving her, or maybe I'm preemptively being standoffish with you
Right.
and not allowing your good. You know, it's like preemptively closing 50 of the 52 doors.
Being guarded, right? Being sort of unable to receive love to some degree.
Yeah.
And also...
And then having a self-fulfilling prophecy that you're not showing me love while
Right.
I'm pushing you up. Yeah, it's a juicy one though.
And also being a little bit victim-y, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, this is happening to me, as opposed to like, what am I bringing to the table, and how can I transform this? And yeah. It's a dynamic, right? It's complex. It's two people. But it's this idea of assuming the other person is coming from a good place and participating in creating that good place, like collectively, mutually, is really empowering and healing.
Yeah, and realizing that we're two good-willed people.
Right.
And that we're trying to be well.
Very recently, our therapist said to us, there's no need for defensiveness in a relationship where there's two good-willed people. We'll leave you with that.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching.
Thanks.
Ciao.
Bye.